Learn how to say no kindly to people. Look, I know how hard it can be saying no. Saying no to your colleagues, your friends, your family, your co-workers. And as someone who has invested their life in healthcare, then I appreciate it's probably even harder. But I want to remind you that, saying yes is also saying no. So if you're concerned about saying no, then just remember that every time you say yes, you are by definition saying no to everything and everyone else. So there's no shame in being a bit more selective. And another thing I think is important to reflect on is being able to say no. Being able to stand up for yourself or be assertive is a strength, isn't it? I'm sure there are people perhaps you can think of, friends of yours perhaps, people you respect, who have no problem saying no, do it in a calm, kind, elegant way, and you never feel like they're mean or nasty, but instead you respect that there's only so many things they can do. So with that in mind, I just want to give you 5 strategies or principles that perhaps might help you get a little bit better at pushing back a little. Tip number 1, begin by shifting your mindset away from everyone else takes priority before me to I need to take care of myself in order to help other people. This is really important from an energy, resourcefulness, recovery perspective. Your role as a healthcare provider or practitioner is dependent on having sufficient recovery and energy, right? It kind of goes without saying, but the risk is if you always say yes to other people, well, the chances are you might not have sufficient recovery time, and consequently your ability to help other people will actually be compromised. So that's my first tip. It may not be that relevant to you, but I think it probably will be, to just kind of acknowledge and accept, give yourself permission to start to treat yourself, to care for yourself as much as you might other people. Tip number 2, consider opportunity cost. I've already mentioned this. This I want to really underline. Every decision you make has the cost of all other decisions you could have made. And that is more relevant with how you choose to spend your time than really anything else, right? So however you choose to spend your time, you need to be comfortable with the fact that by definition, you are deciding to not do anything else that you could be doing instead. And this is hyper relevant when we talk about prioritizing and what you say yes to and what you say no to. Again, reiterating this truism, every yes is a no to everything else apart from that one thing. So again, this is just something to reflect on, not only on an ongoing basis, but the next time you are presented with something that you feel you should say yes to, just pause for a minute and consider all of the things you will, by definition, have to be saying no to as a direct consequence of that decision. Not just the time and activity, but also the people. Remember, every decision has a cost of all other decisions. Be very careful with what you choose to say yes to. Tip number 3, say no to the task, not to the person. You see, when you decline something, you're not saying no to the person, you are simply saying no to their invitation. This is an important distinction. When we're so keen to help others, we want to maintain that sense of utility to others, but you can be willing to help an individual and still have the capacity to say no to one particular task. And this you can even embed in the language, such as, I'd love to help you, but I can't do that thing. You see, this fundamental distinction between person and task helps you depersonalize this supposed no, and consequently it makes it far easier for you to do. So, task, not person. Tip number 4, begin with thanking them and then give your reason for declining. So when you want to say no to someone or to someone's request, begin with thank you. Thanks for thinking of me, or thank you for the offer. It's nice to kind of take the sting out of what might be difficult initially, and then give your reason. The reason can come from any number of different angles, but if you give a reason, it's more compelling and it's easier for them to understand, again, the cost of you saying yes. Thanks, I'd love to, but I'm already fully booked. You see, thank you, I'm not saying no to you, I'm saying no to the task, and there's a clear reason why I can't take it on. When people do that to you, I'm sure you don't feel slighted or upset. People only have so much time, energy, and attention, right? And you're exactly the same. So we all need to be selective. And if you have a reason and you have a reason lined up, it gets much, much easier. And finally, tip number 5, practice. It's like any behavior or skill, you get better with practice. If it feels uncomfortable at first, all the more reasons to practice. If you feel it's too uncomfortable initially, then just rehearse in your mind. Go through fictitious examples of when you might be asked to do things, and then rehearse how you will respond, using the techniques or the strategies, the ideas that we've covered in this video. Remember, your time is limited. In order to help other people, you need to take care of yourself. Every decision, every yes has the cost of everything else. Saying no to people is a part of life. People, I'm sure, say no to you all the time. It's just a natural consequence of us having limited resources. So with that in mind, like I said, practice. Get better at this skill and you will be more assertive, you'll have more recovery time, and consequently I feel that your sense of your own worth is actually likely to improve as well.